Let's step into the ring together. We dive into the fascinating journey of the evolution of boxing, from ancient combat to modern sport. Join us for an epic exploration. The history of boxing gloves is quite interesting, and it has evolved significantly over the years. Boxing gloves are an essential tool in the sport of boxing, but their history is less commonly known. Boxing gloves have come a long way from their humble beginnings. In the early days of boxing, fighters would often wrap their hands with strips of cloth or leather. Initially, boxing gloves were not used in the sport, and boxers used their bare hands to fight was not safe and could lead to serious injuries. This led to the invention of boxing gloves, which have now become synonymous with the sport. The evolution of boxing gloves can be divided into 4 main stages. 1. The bare-knuckle era. 2. The early glove era. 3. The modern glove era. 4. The contemporary glove era. Each era had its unique characteristics, and the gloves used at the reflected the technology and materials available at that time. 1. The bare-knuckle era. Boxing without gloves. The bare-knuckle era is the earliest stage in the evolution of boxing gloves. Boxers during this time would wrap their hands with strips of cloth or leather to protect against injury. These makeshift hand wraps provided little protection. Fighters would break their fingers, dislocate their wrists, and suffer facial lacerations. Bare-knuckle boxing matches were often brutal and lasted for hours. The sport was unregulated, and there were no weight classes, resulting in many lopsided and dangerous matches. There were no rounds, and the fights continued until one fighter was unable to continue or was knocked out. While the bare-knuckle era may seem barbaric by modern standards, it played an essential role in the development of boxing. It laid the foundation for the sport we know today, and helped to make boxing a safer and more regulated sport. 2. The early glove era. Boxing with padded gloves. The early glove era is a significant period in the history of boxing gloves, as it marked the transition from bare-knuckle boxing to modern boxing. The first padded gloves used in boxing were made of horsehair and leather, and they were heavier and thicker than the gloves used today. These gloves were designed to protect the hands of the boxers while inflicting maximum damage on their opponents. Additionally, the gloves were not standardized, and each boxer could bring their own gloves, leading to an uneven playing field. The early glove era came to an end in the early 1900s, when the sport was officially regulated and standardized gloves were introduced. In conclusion, the early glove era marked a significant transition in the history of boxing gloves. Despite the challenges associated with early gloves, they played a vital role in the evolution of boxing gloves and the sport. 3. The standardization of boxing gloves. After decades of using different types of gloves in boxing matches, the sport's governing bodies began to standardize the gloves used in competition. In the 1920s, the first gloves with padding were introduced. These gloves were still
and they were made
of foam and covered in leather. Protection to the boxer's hands. These gloves were lighter and offered more protection to the boxer's hands, reducing the incidence of hand injuries. For boxing shoes history. While boxing gloves are an essential component of a boxer's equipment, boxing shoes are equally important. They provide adequate support, balance, and comfort to boxers during their fights. The history of boxing gloves is a fascinating one, and the design of gloves has evolved significantly over the centuries. Today, gloves are an essential part of the sport and are designed to protect the fighter's hands, while also reducing the force of the punch, but also help to enhance your performance in the ring. Our boxing gloves are made with the latest materials and technology, ensuring that you can train and compete with confidence. Choose sports boxing gloves for superior protection and performance every time you step into the ring. So, the next time you step into the ring, make sure you're wearing the best boxing gloves.